Hi guys, I'm bringing you another video from Gibraltar. This time I'm in the World War II tunnels inside the rock. So I thought I'd show you a bit of the tunnel system I'm walking through here and tell you a bit about the history of these tunnels and how they helped the Allies win the war. So at the start of the war in 1939, Britain only had the original tunnel system dug in the 18th century during the Great Siege of 1779 to 1783. And those limited tunnels would do rather little in way of defensive capability if the Axis tried to, say, invade Gibraltar. So right now I'm in one of the temporary hospital facilities that the British had established as part of their efforts to widen the tunnel system here. So there's a bunch of beds and figurines in here to give you an idea of what it would look like. So the part of the tunnel system I'm in right now is one of the tunnels they had extended during the war, called Hayes Level, named after the commander of the Royal Engineers. Right now I'm walking through the Victory Walk, which basically tells you about the end of the war and VE-Day and how the Allies celebrated the end of the war. But we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves there. It's quite noisy in here, so I'll just walk through, get to the end where you can hear me a bit clearer. But yeah, you can see British and Gibraltarian bunting and an American flag as well, because in the latter half of the war the Americans were stationed in Gibraltar as well. So anyway, the British Royal Engineers, along with the Canadian Royal Engineers, extended the already existing tunnel system by another 18 miles, bringing the total measurement up to 25 miles by the end of the war. And after the war in the 1960s, the tunnels were extended even further, bringing the total measurement up to 34 miles. The tunnels were intended to hold at least 16,000 military personnel, which would garrison the rock in case of an Axis invasion. Right now I'm walking through some more of the tunnels. You can see some small cells, storage cells that would have been used to store military equipment and munitions and stuff. So the Axis plan to invade Gibraltar was dubbed Operation Felix, but there was a small caveat to this plan, which was that Francisco Franco, the fascist dictator of Spain, had only just won the Spanish Civil War a few months prior to the outbreak of World War II. And most Spaniards didn't want to join a world war off the back of a 3-year-long civil war, as their country was still in ruins and there was still a big divide between the Spaniards who'd fought for the nationalists and the Spaniards who'd fought for the Republicans. So even though Franco wanted Gibraltar back for Spain, he had to reluctantly decline Hitler's offer. So Spain didn't want to join the Axis, nor did it want to allow Axis personnel to pass through their country, because that would be de facto joining the Axis, even though they may have pretended otherwise. Despite this, however, the nationalists did contribute a token force to the Eastern Front, around 47,000 volunteers, known as the Blue Division. So they weren't entirely neutral. Franco did favour the Axis, being a fascist dictator and all. But anyway, the Allies didn't exactly know that Franco was entirely hesitant to join the war, so they planned for every eventuality, which culminated in Operation Tracer, which was a Allied contingency plan to hide 6 British operatives inside the Rock in the event of a successful invasion by the Germans. So right now I'm standing on Jock's balcony, which overlooks the airfield and the frontier with Spain. So the 6 operatives who would volunteer for this mission would deliberately enclose themselves in a hidden tunnel with no way in or out, and they'd have enough food and water to last them for at least 2 years, and they'd have this little slit in the side of the Rock to look out across the strait and to spy on Axis naval activity going on in the Mediterranean. The eventual goal was to retake Gibraltar in the event of Gibraltar falling to the Axis. So the agents would also wait for an opportune moment, say there's a weak Axis presence in the strait, or the war starts going badly for the Axis, then the Allies could use that moment of weakness as an opportunity to strike at the occupying forces when they're least expecting it, and then retake Gibraltar for the Allies. The 6 operatives would have been using a small portable radio set to communicate with the British Admiralty in London, so the Allied navies would know the Axis situation in the Mediterranean and in the Strait more specifically. So yeah, I'm going to exit Jock's balcony now. You can see the name there, and I am going to head back into the tunnels. Jock's balcony is named after the 4th Black Watch Regiment stationed here during the war. When someone from outside of the UK hears the word British, they'll usually think of the English, because the international image of a British person is someone who comes from England, and often people outside of the UK will confuse England with the UK as a whole, although this isn't entirely fair, as many regiments from Scotland, Wales and Ireland were also stationed on the Rock over the centuries. So Jock's Balcony was named after the Scots who were stationed here. And as for the civilians of Gibraltar, they had to be evacuated and taken to safety because there were also fears that the Axis would conduct Blitz-style bombing missions over Gibraltar. So around 16,000 Gibraltarian civilians were evacuated from the Rock. At first they were sent primarily to French Morocco, but with the fall of France in 1940 and the establishment of the puppet Vichy government, those evacuees had to be evacuated again from French Morocco to British territories. Most went to the British mainland, to England and other parts of the UK, like Northern Ireland. But others were sent to other territories in the Caribbean, such as Jamaica, and even to territories of neutral countries like Madeira and the Canaries. Some were sent to neighbouring Spain, and others were sent to neutral Ireland as well. And many of these evacuees wouldn't return until the mid-1950s. So many evacuees had been sent away that they couldn't track them all at first, so they had to go through all their records of all the people they had evacuated, and by the time the last of the Gibraltarians had been repatriated to the Rock, it wasn't until 1954 that the last of the Gibraltarians arrived, so nearly a decade after the war had ended. But yeah, that's a short summary of the history of Gibraltar in World War II, and a bit of information about the tunnels I'm walking through. You can see the length of this section of tunnel I'm walking through here. So yeah. I probably could have gone into more detail, but that would have been a very long video, and this video's already coming up to 15 minutes long as it is, so I'm gonna end it here, but I hope you enjoyed, and if you don't know anything about Gibraltar, or you're just starting to get into Gibraltarian history, I hope you learned something new. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Take care and have a good day. Goodbye.